Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Lyndon Perry, also known as LP or I Hypocrite, and I'm here with two consummate professionals who actually showed up on time. Kind of a new one for this show. We got Mr. Mark Collett. I did a show last night with this guy Flood, and he said we got a real OG here, the I Hypocrite, and I thought, I'm not an OG. I'm a Johnny come lately. And I'm talking to some actual OGs tomorrow. We got Mark Collett, one of the original pro-white advocates. I don't know exactly what you would call it, but we all know this is a man for the cause, a man for the movement here, and always a pleasure to talk to him. Thank you for being here. It's quite late, by the way, so big shout out to Mark for being here at this late hour in London. Hello, sir.
Hello, look, thank you so much for such a kind intro, and thank you for inviting me on. Like, there's no way I would have missed this, and it's always a pleasure working with you. I always love doing the streams with you at Christmas. They're fantastic. It's always good sort of reminiscing about Murdoch with you, and I wouldn't have missed this for the world. So thank you so much for inviting me on. I know that you have an Irma band, so it's always good to be back on YouTube and hitting some good numbers. So thank you for the opportunity to stream with you.
Yeah, Mark was telling me, guys, before the show that he's trying to get his Rumble viewers up. So we got the link to the Rumble. We'll do plugs at the end of the show too. But just, while you're here, go ahead and subscribe to Mark Collett on Rumble. He's making new content over there and doing good work. And we got the Ralpha male himself. Hardly my first time collabing with Ethan. I've been on the kill stream a few times here and there, but it's been a while, and I've always wanted to get you on one of my shows, and we finally were able to make it happen. So thanks for being here, Ethan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's always an interesting life, I guess. Controversy to controversy, but still doing the kill stream, having fun, and thank you for the invite, man. It's always good to talk to Mark as well. Killstream alum. I don't know how many times he's been on, but a lot. And you've been on. I can't remember the last time you were on. I do remember the debate with Bryce and Gray. That was probably my most unprofessional debate, actually, as moderator. But yeah, that was an interesting one.
Yeah, I did have to send Bryson a little apology afterwards because it was my idea to do it and I said, sorry, man. But hey, things happen. I think the last time I was on, other than that, this is funny, actually. It was with Andy Worski, which that's a hint of how long ago it was because we were all friends and getting along. Funny how things change, but it's a dirty business.
Singing Kumbaya.
Yeah. All right. Days. The way we do this show is I have some video clips I'm going to bounce off you guys, and you feel free to jump in and give your takes and give your 2 cents. We got quite a few clips to go through here, so we're not going to get super deep on anything. We're just here for a little casual fun, but let me start you guys off with the first one here.
I really pray it doesn't get bad enough, but being a mom in America, I had to stop walking for this. I often think that if it gets to the point of knocking on doors, God, and to even have these thoughts, it's like I'm literally separating from reality right now. If it comes down to me taking out myself and my kids versus us being taken and harmed by ICE, God help me, I did not want to do it. This is not the life I wanted. But that is a very dark thought that I've had. Death would be a easier out than for my children to be taken and harmed by these pedophiles.
Right. So here we have I think you could tell at first glance, maybe not the most mentally stable leftist woman, but she, and I'm assuming she's probably an American citizen, right? Which just adds another layer of insanity to it. Cause she's talking about how ICE is going to come to her house and abuse her and her children. And she's like Joseph Goebbels. I'm going to cyanide pill my whole family before the regime gets here, which I'm not to knock Goebbels because he had a real problems on his doorstep, but this woman is insane. It says a lot about the amount of propaganda that these people are consuming on TikTok and so forth. Don't you think?
You can go ahead and go first, Mark. I can too, but I don't know. They're in a hysteria, and a lot of people. It's on both sides too. The whole. I remember Gamergate. I guess that's where it kind of started, and where we are now with AI and just people believing every single thing they read. And not being mentally stable in the first place. I don't know what you think there, Mark, but the face piercings kind of got my attention as well.
Look, the first thing I've got to say is obviously she's got all the alternative stuff going on. Now, you all know that you have seen that one girl. There's always one who has all that stuff, but she's probably a 9 or 10 out of 10. So she pulls it off and she looks like alternative filth. So you're like, she shouldn't have done that, but she's still really cute. And then you see all these women who clearly aren't 9s and 10s like her copy it. And you're like, look, love, you're not attractive enough to pull this off. And you were at best maybe a 5 or 6, but all that stuff in your face and the tattoos, they've dropped you to a 3 or 4. This is not a good look. And then comes the mental illness. Well, the mental illness is obviously part and parcel, but she's not like hot and mentally ill. So you're like, ooh, you know, this is all a load of red flags, but she is really hot and, you know, she's going to be crazy. This is like, you're not that attractive. You're also mentally ill and you want to kill your own kids because you think you're getting deported when you're an American citizen. This is peak leftist garbage, all wrapped up in a girl that doesn't really realize that she's not hot in the slightest, and it's just made her situation worse. This is everything you kind of want in one clip. And to be fair, it's kind of a bad clip to start with, because I think if we were psychologists, we could probably do a 4-hour podcast on this one woman, this one clip, her mental problems, her piercings, and probably about taking her children into care. Because, you know, if you actually are prepared in the modern sort of very, you know, cosseted and wrapped in cotton wool world to sort of shove the cyanide pills in your child's mouth because they're deporting illegal immigrants, you know, 4 states over. Yeah, it's probably time for her children to get a visit from Child Protective Services.
Yeah, I don't usually read a lot of live chat comments, but we got one here from Piggerness. He says, you could cripple that broad just holding a magnet to her face. And I thought that was worth an honorable mention. Also, Mark, you would know a thing or two about dating tattooed women, wouldn't you?
Look, mate, I had the best midlife crisis ever. Like for me, you see, I've never understood this obsession with cars. You know, like these guys who are like, look, I've hit my mid-30s, and like, I'm going to buy a knackered old car and spend the next 3 years doing it up and it still won't work. Don't understand that. And I don't understand motorbikes either. I don't understand this, like, well, I've hit my mid-30s, so I need to buy like this death cycle. I've never ridden a motorbike in my life. I'm going to buy this sort of like bike that goes 250 miles an hour and I'm going to kill myself. Like, my jam is basically like, I've hit my mid-30s. I want a super hot, insane, heavily tattooed nymphomaniac. No motorbikes, no doing up cars. I know where the good stuff is. I did it. I don't regret it. I'm not going to apologize for it. But luckily, I moved on and had children with someone who was fully like tattoo graded, i.e. 0 tattoos, no markings, no irregular piercings. You know, if you're going to have the midlife crisis, just make sure it doesn't bear your children, because if it does, you will be paying for that forever. And the man beneath me understands that better than anyone.
Yeah, I felt like you were talking to me there, Mark, actually. Yeah, you will have some big regrets if you make the wrong choice in that regard. Not throwing any shade, of course, to anyone who may see this. But yeah, and you mentioned, if you're talking about or even alluding to offing your kids, I think that definitely does warrant a visit from CPS. I really don't know. That's like other than like flat out abusing them or raping them or something like that. That's right near it. So yeah. The
video did go viral on Twitter and they were talking. So I'm assuming something, I didn't hear any follow-ups, but I'm assuming somebody did, you know, get a welfare check of some kind. Hopefully it's all working out for the best. Let's move on to the next clip here.
Most people wouldn't understand.
Oh, I forgot my segue, because Mark, last time you were here, we talked.
This is grim, and where you've paused this, mate, the pause is just, you know, when you've hit the pause button in the worst possible, that is it. I'm watching a woman who used to be like 30 stone use cling film, or I think you call it saran wrap, to hold in her gun. This is this is
I was
unconscionable.
gonna say I need the strategy here.
This is tips
maybe
freeze and
I
Ralph.
need to study this actually.
Carry on. Sorry,
I had a funny segue because last time you were on the Christmas stream, Mark, we talked about this clip of you with Russell Brand and would you date a black woman, and do you think Halle Berry? And I was gonna say, Mark, you said you don't find black women attractive, but maybe this will change your mind. And then I forgot a whole thing. Yeah.
That's why I stopped talking about it. That's why I stopped trying to explain. Some things are easier to carry.
Now, let's say for the sake of argument, you were attracted to her and you took her home and you're taking the clothes off and it all flops out. Is that rape? Or as a man, have you been raped by this deception?
I've got to say this. This is going to kill the buzz slightly, but I do have a degree of sympathy for this woman simply because she obviously woke up one morning and was like, look, I'm a 25 stone baby hippopotamus. I look absolutely vile. And she did do something about it, but she's now left with this hideous. Do you know the medical term for that piece of skin is an apron? They call it an apron in medical terminology. She's left with this apron of skin, and there's nothing she can do about it. So I obviously, if I was to meet a woman who had concealed a large and unsightly apron of skin and I was tempted into bed with them, I would be utterly horrified and it would somewhat kill the moment. And that's the polite English way to put it. However, I do give her I do sort of take my hat off to her and sort of nod my head because she has at least sorted out her, once hideously obese physique.
Yes. And they have surgeries to like help fix that up, right? So she's probably working on that next, I would assume.
When you keep them to yourself.
The test will only be in English. Therefore, Daniela hit a major roadblock. Daniela is one of many that will not be able to take their driver's license exams in any other language other than English, and they will not have the option of an interpreter or translator. Some residents told NBC6 they are against this new policy, but some state officials like Governor Ron DeSantis believe this change will make roadways safer by ensuring drivers can read English language road signs.
And experts with PolitiFact say the effects of Florida's policy may be small because traffic signs are typically universal symbols rather than words. They also believe the policy could...
Experts with PolitiFact, by the way. PolitiFact. Well, they're mostly symbols. What do you guys think? Is it crazy for people in a country taking a driver's exam to do it in the language of the country, or has DeSantis gone too far this time?
Too far.
Where I live, you have to take the test in Spanish, and there's no exception. But if you go to Mexico City, there's so many people in Mexico City, you don't have to take a test. You just kind of pay the fee and fill out this form. So I actually went to Mexico City and got my license here in Mexico, but I can understand the road
hold on.
Like
there's so many people. There's so many people that they just don't bother with driving tests. Wow. That's right. Yeah. That sounds awesome.
I don't think they could actually, not criticizing the government, of course. It would be a big task for them to sort that out. So yeah, you don't have to take a driver's test there, which I was a little startled by. I will say the one thing in Mexico that I'm not used to is the bumps in the road. So that does catch me off guard. And the roundabouts, they use those a lot here, as they do in the UK, but in America, not as much. But yeah, they don't have many exceptions like that here. And if you want to be a citizen, you have to know Spanish, you have to know Mexican history, and a few other things. So there's no exceptions here in Mexico, except for Mexico City with the driver's license.
How big is Mexico City? Do you know offhand? I kind of want to look it up because
20+ million, something like that.
Massive.
Yeah.
If you've flown into Mexico City, it's like something out of a dystopian sci-fi film. Where they start with that sort of like crawl. It's like the world's largest city where gangs rule everything. It's like that. It just goes on and on. it really is. The scale of the place is huge. I think it's one of the biggest cities in the world. I think I think the only place, one of the few places bigger, is Tokyo. But I should imagine Tokyo is far safer than Mexico City.
Yeah, good chance of that.
Well, I'll defend Mexico City a little bit. There's different districts in Mexico City, right? So basically the most posh district I've ever been in is actually Mexico City. Condesa is the name of the district. But there's a lot of foreigners that live there. There's a lot of Europeans. They've had protests there over the last year for gentrification reasons and stuff like that. But it's really nice there. But there's different parts of Mexico City because it's so huge. So yeah, there's definitely some areas that you might not want to go in without your head on a swivel.
Are we all in favor of speak the language to do your driver's license, or do you guys think that that's harsh and unfair? It's kind of like, I don't know, like people who are.
I think this is fair. Why should anyone be able to come to a Western country and do any of the things that we do if they can't even be bothered to, that's not hyperbole. So if you come here and you turn up, you just get free healthcare. And if you're just babbling in some sort of wild foreign tongue that no one understands, they'll get an interpreter and just be like, well, look, this guy, he charges 150 quid an hour. He's going to sit with you for 5 hours and talk to you and figure out, but this goes for everything. So in the NHS, you've got a bed in the NHS, they will come around and see what you want for lunch. Well, if you can't read and you can't fill out the form and say what you want for lunch, they will hire an have an interpreter going from bed to bed to find out what the migrants want to eat for lunch. The cost of this is absolutely massive. And I don't see why anyone should be able to come to a Western nation and stay there or use the services if you don't know the language. I think it's ridiculous.
Well, hold that thought. We'll come back to that, okay? Because there's another relevant clip.
Who would live in a country without knowing the language, by the way? So.
Yeah. Shameless.
Okay. Oh, shut up.
Oh, this is Will Stansel, just for context. Mark, I know you're not on Twitter, so I sometimes wondered, like, are you kind of out of the loop on some of this stuff? Do you know about the Will Stansel show and that whole?
Yeah, I know Emily Eucas is his Will Stansel show. It's very funny.
Yeah. So this is the actual guy here, and he's about
to get... This is the actual Will Stansel.
Yes, in the flesh, and he's about to get punched by like an Antifa guy in Minneapolis.
Oh, man, I've done a lot more than you have. Shut up. Jackass.
I thought everybody was still up there. Thanks a lot, guys.
Burning dumpster.
Oh no! Yeah, this is the million people. oh, here we go.
I guess he's having lots of problems because he's been out on this Ice Watch thing, driving around in his Honda Fit, following ICE agents around. But like a lot of like leftists don't like him. I gotta say, there was this. I saw this Richard Spencer clip. I don't have it pulled up, but it's in this past week. He was talking to that Basil guy, and he was saying how like, oh, it's kind of telling how the most popular right-wing show is just like this racist cartoon. Like he was kind of like looking down on the Will Stansel show, like it's not really high art. I actually think the satire is incredibly smart and subtle. The way this Will Stansel guy is like kind of a lovable doofus. The black guy, Jamal, he's not like a racist caricature at all. He's like an 80s daytime black character from like, the Cosby Show or what, which I don't know. I just think the show is really funny. What do you guys think? My dog's barking. I'm going to let him in real quick.
I've enjoyed it. I've seen some people throwing some shade a little bit recently, questioning some ties and stuff like that. I haven't really dug into any of that. I don't have any beef with Emily, and she's been on the show. It's been a long time, but yeah, I liked it. I haven't seen every single episode, but I've seen the first couple, especially the first one. What is his degree actually in? It's like African American studies, basically, right?
Yeah, like Black history or something like
Yes.
that. I mean, he's like a living meme. And but the thing is he's so like, I don't know, there's just something about him. Like she picked the perfect vessel for this. It's hard to explain. I can't really put it into words, but I get it. Anyway, here's Asmund Gold talking about the Epstein release. Of course, we got to have a little bit of Epstein talk on the show, given what's gone down.
Goyim were born to only serve us, he said in a 2010 sermon. Without that, they have no place in the world, only to serve the people of Israel. Guys, this is insane.
All right, that sounds a bit harsh, but before you get all worked up, that wasn't actually Epstein who said that. It was just like this chief rabbi, high political guy in Israel who worked with Netanyahu. So there's nothing to see here, basically, you know?
Just the Epstein stuff in general. I hate to say this, and I don't really want to think it, but Trump's handling of the Epstein issue, there's obviously something holding him up, because it's an obvious thing to jump in on and arrest people and not just dismiss as a Democrat hoax. It's totally politically stupid. I don't know. It's political malpractice. And the only answer is a dark one. Either they have something on him, or they've threatened him, maybe his family. I don't know. Or he's just, in on it. I don't know what to say, but Pam Bondi today disgraced herself. I know we're not on that directly, but
I was going to do a review of the Pam Bondi thing on Friday because it's so bad. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. How long was she giving testimony for?
I was checking in and out on Twitter, so I don't know for sure as far as the length of the appearance, but pretty much everything I saw was terrible. And I saw
bad.
But MAGA people were trying to spin it, and she just slammed Massey. He's a failed politician. I just can't. You have to be, I guess, cultist mindset to look at that and say this was a good day for the GOP, because it was not. Right? I mean, is that a controversial thing to say? It is for some of these people on Twitter, because I was getting attacked. I don't know. They're drinking the Kool-Aid a little too heavily.
I didn't watch the Bondi stuff.
He's got like the greatest life, hasn't he? Because like, he doesn't actually create any content. People just send him clips, and he just sits there, watches the clip, and either disagrees or doesn't, or either agrees or disagrees with what's being said. Gives sort of a small amount of transformative speech, and everyone just loves it. And I'm for whatever reason, my phone just constantly recommends Asmongold clips to me through YouTube. So there's multiple clip channels, and he's quite an entertaining guy. I think what people like about him is he is kind of the everyman gamer, isn't he? He's like the guy that just sits there playing World of Warcraft, has a bit of an opinion, and he's actually quite likable. And I think he is a guy that would be almost impossible to hate. There's just something about him where he's just sort of this harmless guy that sort of started to get political, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, I feel a bit like that myself. I'm this harmless guy who has been forced into politics. I think that's his sort of appeal.
Yeah, he nailed it.
He does have this sort of thing of just sitting there discussing everything that happens around him, and just everyone just loves him for it. It's kind of the ultimate job.
The other amazing thing, I just want to say this real quick, is this is one of the top streamers in the world.
Yeah.
Talking about issues we were talking about a long time ago, not to throw shade or anything, but it's just astonishing where it's come from, since 2016 or 2016 to here. It really is incredible.
It is.
We would have gotten, you would have gotten banned. We did get banned.
We did get banned. We were saying maybe it's Israeli pedophiles sort of subverting our culture. It's like you're instant ban, and now it's like, oh well, turns out everything you said was true, but it's lots worse. They're actually eating babies. Whoa, I think the Epstein stuff is just going to be the gift that keeps on giving, to be honest. I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And it's obvious Trump's up to his neck in it.
Well,
I mean,
on that, Mark, I wanted to ask this. And by the way, Asman has been teasing for a while now, like a collab with Nick, which would be interesting. But on the Trump thing, because I've seen all the leftist talking point, and Ethan touched on this, and I agree with what you said, that Trump should be going after people and like bringing us scalps. You know, that would be like who wouldn't want that? But they say like, oh, well, you know, I've heard this talking point so many times, like, oh, you say ICE is out here arresting pedos, but there's pedos in the White House, and they keep saying this like it's a good thing that indicts Trump the way they're acting. I understand there's like 3 million more files that haven't been released yet or something like that. But have you guys like actually seen anything that you've seen where you're like, okay, this guy's guilty, like he's really a bad guy?
Look, I think Trump, from what we've seen, Trump was heavily associated with this guy. And it's not just that Trump was associated with him, it's that people associated with Trump are associated with him. It's like this big spider's web. So if you've got one of these FBI walls where you've got the little pictures and the map, and then the spider web of red kind of string all leads back to one place, it all leads back to Israel. And the issue here is Trump is a complete slave to both Israel and to Jewish donors. You know, this guy is so philo-Semitic. I think he's protecting powerful people. I think he's protecting Israel. He's probably protecting himself as well. And I think there's numerous things he's doing that are going to be extremely unpopular. And from Pam Bondi's performance today, you don't behave like. At one point, she was specifically asked a question, and this question was from Thomas Massey. He said, "Are there any, is there any evidence amongst anything that you've seen that implicates Trump with underage girls?" She refused to answer that question. Now, the only reason you'd refuse to answer that question is if the answer is yes, she has seen that. But instead, she broke into some tirade. It's very sort of, you can either call it childish or sort of, female schizo mentality. Like when you say to your girlfriend, sort of like, my phone's disappeared, have you seen it? And she explodes into a tirade of anger. You absolutely know that she moved your phone off the side, dropped it, it's smashed, and she doesn't want to tell you.
It's very specific. Very specific.
If you say, have you seen my phone? What the hell is it with you and this? You should just be happy I baked you that apple crumble last night. You're like, whoa, I wasn't even talking about the apple crumble. My phone, so something's happened. And her behavior over the last sort of few hours tells you that she's hiding something. And I believe Trump is up to his neck in it. And the way you sort of knew Trump was up to his neck in it was at this sort of turning point where he was all like, we need to drain the swamp. We need to get rid of the corruption. We need to make sure that people are held accountable. Then all of a sudden he was like, yeah, releasing these files probably isn't the best thing. Lots of good, innocent people mentioned. This is something that's all a Democrat hoax. And you're like, you're talking like a very guilty man. And it seems as if, look, I've said this about Trump before. I don't want to go on too long, but Trump has got probably the biggest cult of personality. Is probably the person post Second World War who's come closest to having that kind of dedicated fan base. And we saw that on January the 6th, the Stop the Steal thing. People were willing to, go to the wall for that man. These were people who were absolutely dedicated to Donald Trump. Things like this. It's because the people who support him are now so sort of dialed in. You wouldn't change their mind no matter what. You could have stuff shown that was literally him doing horrific things to young girls, and certain sections of the MAGA verse would just absolutely refuse to still say a word against him, because people do love him that much. And that's partially because he does have redeeming features. He has this thing where he is funny, he is personable. Even when he does things that annoy you, he can make you laugh, by just coming out with some stupid off-the-cuff comment. He shames people. He's someone that says things that the common man on the street just wants a politician to say. And people, for that reason, have bought into him to such a degree that they can't see any wrong in him.
Well, and just to follow up, not only is just that, I've seen posts saying this is 4D underwater backgammon by Trump, and he engineered all this, and you should be thanking Trump. Honestly, if it's their fault this is happening in the first place. They promised this during, I mean, it wasn't a super platform promise or whatever, but it was talked about a lot during the election, and we're going to release these files. And then they did the binder thing, which just gave it more profiles. Trump never stopped talking about it. I'm convinced if he would have adopted a different communication strategy, that it might not have ended up this way, right? And the press secretary saying we're moving on and we're not going to talk about this anymore, that doesn't really work. And it's only going to get worse. There's still 3 million more files. We talked about Pam Bondi. She should resign after today. She won't, but that was, I know there's different standards now than there used to be, but the attorney general acting a fool like that during the hearing, I don't know. I just wasn't a fan. I'm not a fan of hers in general. She seems like an idiot. So
yeah, I agree. I didn't see the Today stuff that she deflected on whether or not she saw like incriminating. That's very interesting. So I'll be looking into that as soon as I get a chance. But I want to move on to
do a review of it all because at one point somebody asked her another pointed question. She turned around and said, "Oh, why are we even talking about this?" And it's like, well, because you're being asked to testify under ooth. You know, that's why you're talking about it. It's like a hearing, you idiot. She's like, we should be talking about the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones. You know, we're knocking it out the park. She said, what? Well, what about the abused children? Who cares about that when the economy's pumping? You know, does it matter that there's probably 2 little girls buried behind his mansion in Idaho? Who cares? The economy is pumping. What? But this is the thing. When you have this cult of personality, it can lead to really dark places. When somebody gets a support base that just whatever gets, and I've had this on Gab. I've said things about him on Gab, and people will come in there and they will literally hate you. You know, as if you just run over their pet cat. You know, you're like, what's this hate? All I've said is maybe he shouldn't be such a servant of Israel, and people go berserk. People really do love him. When he goes, there is going to be such a vacuum in the Republican Party, and there's going to be so much energy leave the room. I think the hardest thing for the Republican Party and for the MAGA movement will be choosing a successor. I think it'll be virtually impossible, and I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't cause such a rift in that party, and it would just be unimaginable what could happen.
Imagine Barron runs and he's like fuck everybody, like we're gonna kick them all out, like just like 1488 Barron Trump comes in and he's like a guy could dream. Maybe that's the whole trust the plan. That's what they're anyway. All right, I do want to move on to the next clip because we can't talk about Trump all day, but the Bondi stuff sounds interesting, so I'll be looking at that tomorrow on my show.
And they are terrorized. They're terrorized. Haitian nationals. This is cruelty, this is inhumane, and this is a death sentence. Because we already know the consequences. Because in Haiti, there's open warfare and rape. There's ravaging violence against women and children. There are no school days, no work schedule. You do what the gangs want you to do.
So this is what Haiti. Yeah. When I said hold the thought about the immigrants, this is kind of what I was getting at, because in Haiti, they like rape people and eat cats and that. So we should let them come here so that they're safe from that. That's the argument. That's the argument she's making, is you can't send Haitians back because they're going to, get forced to do gang warfare or whatever. And
well, fixing Haiti is not even possible, really. And the inhumane thing is that hat that she has on, because that made me start laughing. As soon as I saw it, I don't know what your thoughts are on that hat. I don't even know where you would get such a thing.
I was going to say, look, you can tell she's got no friends, because if you had a good friend with you, they'd be like, look, Pamela, don't wear the hat. The hat doesn't go with the rest of the outfit. It looks like it's a cheap children's fancy dress attire, do not wear the hat. But no one said don't wear the hat, which tells you no one likes her. Or either no one likes her or she's in such a position of power, like the high voodoo priestess of all of Haiti, that everyone is so fearful that she'll have them done over if they mention the hat. They're all just like, I love the hat. So it's either no friends or complete power. I'm not sure what it is, but no one told her about the hat. That is for sure. That is what we know. And also, if you were in Haiti with such a snazzy hat, you definitely would be some form of warlord that had at least 10 severed heads around your property somewhere. I'm saying at least 10.
She could at least have taken the bow off or gotten a hat without whatever that is. I guess it's a bow. Yeah, it's just too much, Mark. I don't know.
I do have a certain fondness though for like these mad Africans in these like fly blown places, and like they're little curios, you know, sort of like, yeah, I've got my lucky hat, so it mean I can't die, you know, and you're like, I'm not sure the hat means you can't die. It is a snazzy hat, I will agree, but it does not have magical powers. I remember once seeing a picture of an African running down the street with some kind of assault weapon, like an assault rifle, and he was wearing a life jacket. Now, I'm not sure what a life jacket would do in, you know, door-to-door urban combat, but he obviously thought this snazzy life jacket was going to be so, you know, he'd heard that it was a life preserver, so he was like, look, this is going to definitely help me. It preserves life. I'm going to pop this on before I begin the brutal door-to-door fighting. It's going to extend, you know, like in Call of Duty when you get like sort of your perks, like it gives it plus 5 to his armor or health, and you're like, I'm not sure if that works that way in real life, but I am definitely I'm sure I had a pair of gardening gloves on too. You've got to give these people a certain degree of respect. It is comical. It is comical.
I remember a report, not to drone on too much about Africa, but it was on the World Service, BBC World Service, and it was about albinos in some country in Africa. I forget the country. I don't know if they do it continent-wide, but they basically were hunting down albinos, if I recall correctly, to like consume them for their medical practices or whatever, because they think they have some type of healing powers. I don't know. There's a lot of, needless to say, crazy shit going on.
Yeah,
in Africa,
bald men have gold in their heads. I've heard that one. And there's, I don't even like to say this one, but if you violate a baby, it cures your HIV. That's another one that was, as they actually like do there. So that's pretty dark, but
that is very dark. But
is that because it's so bad there? Because black as night. Because it's so bad there, should we let them all come here to get away from that? Is really the question. The leftists say, of course. I say, why bring people who do that where I live?
I've sent you a DM. You can, if you go to the private chat, I've sent you an amusing link that proves what I'm saying. The man does indeed have a life preserver and gardening gloves. This is a genuine picture of the Liberian Civil War. If you can put that up on the screen, chat will know that I haven't gone insane. You know, I'm not making this up. This is not AI generated. It's a genuine picture of a man in the Liberian Civil War. Put it up on screen. People have to see. If he had that getup and this hat, he would truly have been the king of Africa.
That's right. I did show on screen. I'm not going to load it in the StreamYard. Sorry, but it's just easier the way I did it. But yes, we're having a good laugh in the chat. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's move on. Okay, so this was like a really long clip. I'll give you guys a little bit of setup because I did shorten it down a lot. But in Minneapolis, where you have all these anti-ICE protests, there was a yoga gym, and there was like an ICE out poster up in the window, and the corporate people said, take that down. We're not doing like political statements. And then one of the yoga teachers quit in protest, probably the one who put the sign up, I guess. And then what happened was this struggle session ensued after a class where a bunch of the yoga students, well, you'll see.
You gonna put the ice up sign back on the front door? We don't want to chat. We want action. Like, we chat all fucking day long in this state. Are you gonna put the ice out sign on the back on the front door?
Is that the ask? Yes.
Yeah, and we want you to take us to.
The biggest ask here, and please let me know if you guys feel differently. The biggest ask here is that Core Power is a major corporation. They're all over this country. The fact that they are staying silent about what is happening in Minneapolis, not only staying silent, but trying to silence us and speaking out. And by
That's
us,
right.
I mean the people who are working for Core Power, your guys as teachers, your guys as people who are presenting you. The fact that is being silenced, the fact that you guys are staying silent, that is complicit. That is not okay. People are being murdered and abducted and attacked here, and it is heinous. I'm a nurse. It kills me to see people getting fucking hurt in our community. This is our community, and this is bullshit.
Whoops, skipped back. Okay. Oh no, spoilers. Okay. When I see something like this, one thing I think is like, there's no right-wing version of this really. Like, you have boycott Bud Light, a very uniquely left thing. And in some ways, I'm kind of jealous of the way that they're more motivated to do this sort of action, even though it's obviously cringe because it's leftoids. And then I also think of the girl at the start of the video who is like gonna kill her kids because she's so scared of ice. And it's like, is that the downside of?
In general, I don't support the police just off the bat. I've had my own issues. But if you go looking, like these shootings, these people went there to cause trouble, to interfere with federal operations. There's plenty of federal policies I don't agree with. Of course, I'm in Mexico. I agree with all of them here, to clarify. American federal policies. But I wouldn't go out and try to stop the FBI or ICE or whoever, or the DEA. I'm not a huge fan of them. So they're looking for trouble. They found it. And I thought both the shootings were justified. I didn't like seeing it, but the one guy came there with a gun. So I don't know. As far as the struggle sessions and the devotion, you don't really see that in real life. I mean, I guess online there's a little bit of purity spiraling sometimes on the right, or you're not doing this, or we shouldn't care about that. But yeah, it doesn't have this type of flavor. No.
I love these things. I really do. I mean, you see these women, they're getting really worked up. It's like turkeys basically crowing for more Christmas. They literally do want to house as many sort of rapists and aggressive foreign criminals in their own vicinity. Yet they have this suicidal empathy where they will put the needs of these people first because they've been so conditioned by the media. And although I find it amusing, I don't actually blame the women because the women have been conditioned into thinking this way. So it is natural for women to be really empathetic and have this high level of empathy because they are the child bearers. They're the child rearing member of a human coupling. So, they're in charge of looking after children. So they're meant to be empathetic. They're meant to look at the children and think, oh, well, how can I be kind? How can I be caring? How can I soothe them? How can I look after them? But it's kind of really twisted the way the media has taken that empathy, stripped away the white children. So they're not having white children to be empathetic towards and look after anymore. And instead, they've placed this sort of effigy of, non-white migrants in the place where the white child should be. So all of these childless kind of yoga enjoying harridans are instead completely focused on looking after these non-white invaders. It's almost like what the cuckoo does. So the cuckoo goes into a nest, it destroys all of the actual bird's eggs, then lays its own, and then when these hatch, the unwitting bird brings up the cuckoo's offspring, which eventually then turn on the mother bird. And this is exactly what the media has done. The media is like the cuckoo that has come in, smashed all the eggs so we don't have white babies anymore, convinced these women, obviously it hasn't like gone and the media hasn't come in and sort of sterilized women, but it's mind warped them to the point where they don't want to have white babies. Like, oh, we won't have our own white babies, but instead we'll look after all these immigrants of fighting age that are flooding into our country. They'll be the ones we look after now. That's the noble thing to do because we've got such high levels of empathy. And really, this is the problem with white people, isn't it? The problem with white people is their empathy has been turned against them or misdirected away from their own offspring towards people who are being brought here to replace them. And this is sort of a microcosm of the big problem. And although in some ways it is amusing seeing them get so het up over this, that is a perfect example of what is wrong with white people, in a nutshell.
I think you nailed it.
Hey, MAGA, fuck you. And guess what? Which y'all didn't realize. You know that if a civil war breaks out, you can't get involved and you can't go after other citizens because in a civil war, the Second Amendment only applies when citizens are going after the government. So if you come after another citizen, it's still murder. Good luck with that. And if you...
Yeah, clearly she knows nothing about what happened during the actual Civil War in terms of suspension of rights or during any war they can suspend rights, martial law, all types of provisions. Dumb bitch, I guess is my first thought when I hear her talk about rules of engagement during a hypothetical civil war.
It's so stupid. I had to include it because it's you imagine an actual war zone and like somebody standing there and be like, hey, you're not allowed to do that. Yeah, you guys aren't allowed to have guns. Also, there's sort of a baked in presumption that the government would be on their side, which is not necessarily wrong, but it is sort of ironic given their current anti-ICE, like anti-government positions. You know what I mean? She's sort of assuming that the government's on their side in this civil war, and at the same time they hate the current administration more than anything. So it's a little ironic.
Well, ICE is carrying out a policy they were given by the executive branch, by Trump.
Right.
And that's their job, to carry out policies they're given. Maybe they agree with it. I think some of them do, seemingly, with the enthusiasm that I've seen, but probably some of them don't. And they're just doing their job. And, you've seen some of these scenes. It's not shocking that there's been a couple people killed. It's kind of shocking that it hasn't been worse. You go starting all these problems with people with guns and federal agents, and they're yelling and throwing shit and breaking shit. Somebody might get shot, and that's what's happened. And
I mean, that's also very unique to Minneapolis, right? Because ICE is like operating in all these other places, and they're not having these problems. So it's something about that particular place mainly, where they've just decided they're going to take this stand. Like they've decided they got this weird main character TikTok Rebel Alliance syndrome. It's not good.
There's a lot of radical left-wing activism there. And actually, I used to live in Richmond. There was a ton of Antifa in Richmond, Virginia, too. So I don't know how deep Antifa rolls there, but I think they roll pretty deep there, too. But yeah, Richmond, that's why when they took down Stonewall Jackson's statue, they were out there beating up people, protesting. Cops didn't do anything. I could go on about this stuff forever, but it's obviously a hotbed of activists.
I love all this. I think this is fantastic. And this, for me, is really, really illustrative of sort of the leftist mindset. So ever since I've been involved in nationalism, you gave me a very kind intro. You said I'm a bit of an OG, and I have been doing this for 26 years now. Well, this is the 26th year of me doing this. And as a nationalist, we've always had to be... There's two things that sort of affect the nationalist mindset and have produced the kind of people we are. The first is, sadly, we're not very used to winning. So I've been to many election counts where we lost, and we always used to lose. It was one of the things. It was rare when we ever won. So when we went to election counts and when there are social changes, it's usually bad for us. So we walk out and we know how to deal with victory. We're quite stoic, we're quite good at hiding our emotions. We walk out of these things and we're like, well, they passed another crap law. Yeah, well, we know how to deal with it. oh, well, we only got 10%, guys. We didn't win the seat. Let's walk away. Oh, they've done this and it affects our right to protest. We walk away. And we're pretty good at dealing with defeat or with bad news. That's something that comes with the territory of being a nationalist. The second part of what shapes us is the fact that not only are we used to losing, we're used to being absolutely brutalized if we step out of line. So, if we're the protesters that get slightly too rowdy, if we're the protesters that scream at the police or push somebody on the other side, we get swooped upon and we get bashed. How many times have you seen sort of a right-wing protester on a campus, act in self-defense and then 10 officers just jump on him and beat the crap out of him and put him in the back of the van? So that means we're very well behaved, we're very polite. Now, the left have had the complete opposite. They're used to winning. Every social change that's taken place, or nearly every social change that's taken place post-Second World War, has gone in their direction. So they're used to always winning. And they're also used to being treated with kid gloves. How many protests have you been at where the left are literally spitting in people's faces, throwing abuse, threatening people, whacking them with placards, and the police won't arrest them? I used to remember going to election counts and there'd be people whacking you over the head with "Stop Racism" placards. And you'd say to the police, "He just hit me with that placard." They're like, "I didn't see anything, none of my business. You either go into the count or I might arrest you." And you're like, "Oh, all right, I'll get on with my business." Now, what you've got here is this tiny period of history under Trump where the social changes have started moving back in the other direction, and the left are being treated equally. They always say they want equal treatment, and finally they're being treated equally. If they turn up at a protest and spit at somebody or hit somebody with a placard or drive a car at them or bring a gun, they are actually being treated as patriots or nationalists would be treated. And this is causing the greatest public temper tantrum we've ever seen, because they've had everything go their way and because they've been treated with kid gloves. They act like babies. They've got the mentality of children, whereas we've had everything go against us and we've been brutalized. It's caused us to be actual grown-up adults who can deal with things not going our way. These people can't. They can't deal with the real world. They think driving their car at federal agents, bringing a gun to a protest, attacking federal agents is all, what? This has never happened to us before. Now this is the product of being treated with kid gloves. You become children. The left are just a mass of underdeveloped, mentally stunted children that have no grasp on reality. And you can tell if there genuinely was a real swing to the hard right, these people would be in mental institutions. They'd be constantly curled up in in the fetal position, like crying and wetting themselves because they can't cope with being treated like adults. And she's this smug, stupid woman is making this video thinking she's making a coherent point, but she is just a child in an adult's body. And that's because the system has allowed her to stay in this state of arrested development.
Well, I was talking about that protest. You're right. They had been treated with kid gloves. And I was at that protest. Somebody pulled out, I think it was a flag of the League of the South, maybe. And they were I was against the statue getting taken down too, but I just walked around like I was documenting, right? I didn't make it known that I was against it. I'm just here, right? Well, this guy did, and he got beaten senseless, and they took the flag and burned it, lit it on fire in front of the Stonewall Jackson statue. And that's a whole story. They just did that out of the blue and brought in a company from out of state, and it was leaked that it was happening that day. And so there were 3,000 or 4,000 people around, and poured down rain, and they were just beating people up, but they weren't beating cops up. There's a difference between beating somebody up in the crowd and actually attacking police. That's generally not a good outcome. I can testify to that actually as well. So yeah, don't do that. Don't go looking for trouble with the police.
Do you know if they caught any charges for beating that guy up or anything like that? Probably not.
No, they did.
Right?
Nobody did anything to them.
Yeah.
No, the cops were right there.
And on that note, Mark, like what you're saying, the same thing applies online. With nationalists have been very censored on the internet, and so we've learned how to talk within the, how to color within the lines when we're talking, right? And it's funny to me, you see these leftoids who haven't really dealt with mass censorship. And in the last couple of years, it does feel like we can talk a little bit more openly about some things. Like the censorship isn't as bad as it was 5 years ago, right? We probably all agree on that. I mean, you're still banned, Mark, but you're kind of an exception.
I know he's
maybe you don't agree.
Yeah,
maybe you don't agree, but it, like for us who are on X and YouTube, it's like you can talk a little bit more about racial issues and even like Jewish power and stuff like this. And then you got these people on TikTok who are like, we should kill ICE agents, we should poison them. If you're a nurse and they come to the hospital, inject them with like cyanide. What the fuck?
No, but what you're saying is true. So as somebody who's a nationalist, if you see a migrant brutally rape, a 12-year-old girl, you have to be very careful what you say. If you're going to talk about serious punishment, you'd have to say, well, this person deserves a trial. And if they are found guilty of this heinous crime, I believe we should amend the law and bring back the death penalty for somebody found guilty in a court. You have to make it very clear. Yes. You can't just say this person deserves to get X, because you will get a knock on the door. But and you're talking about a violent criminal who's raped a girl, whereas if you were a leftist, you can literally, so I'll give you a perfect example of this. There's a group in this, well, they're a Northern Irish rap group, and they're basically Republicans. So they're sort of IRA supporters. They're called Kneecap. And they would go on stage and they would openly say, kill your local conservative politician. And it was just all, brushed off as if like, well, this is lawful protest. It's within the realms of freedom of speech. Can you imagine what would happen to me if I said something similar about politicians I don't like? The left have literally been allowed to call for the murder of politicians. This same group got up on stage and voiced support for a banned terrorist group, a banned Islamic terrorist group. And again, the whole case was just botched so they could walk free from court. If I came on a stream and espoused my, was ever to espouse support for a banned terrorist group, it'd be 5 years in jail instantly. There is a massive double standard, but it has created, these children, these grown-up children, that if it ever swung back and the law was applied equally, you'd end up with what you've seen in America on this time. A couple of people have been shot, dead by ICE agents. But if this was applied equally across the scale, across the whole of the States or the whole of Europe, you would have thousands of leftists, being taken to jail for literally calling for murder. They think they can get away with whatever they want. And if you pull them up on it and say, well, look, you have called for these people to be murdered, they act in such an entitled that, but these people are literally Hitler. And if I think someone's Hitler, I can say they should die. Yeah. What are you talking about? I'm a hero. You're like, it doesn't really work that way. You're calling for people to be killed. But they are completely insulated from any of the realities of life. Whereas, as you say, we come on a stream and you say, well, maybe Israel shouldn't have the complete casting vote over every part of our foreign and domestic policy. And people are like, banned. You're like, what?
Yeah, if we said anything like that, do anything to ICE to take out a government agent, they would probably put us in jail, honestly. So yeah, it's the kid gloves thing. They're used to getting away with it and being able to say whatever they want. And honestly, Trump needs to round some of these people up. That would be a good way to boost his poll numbers, I think. But
yeah, I wish he would crack down a lot harder. I wish. Uh-oh.
Of all the things I've seen today, I think this, for me, is the most chilling, because it's a children's game, but it's teaching children to hate. It's called Jews Out. And then you brought it along from the Wiener Library, which is Britain's Holocaust archive.
Disgusting.
It's a horrifying thing, isn't it?
It makes me sick.
It is a very horrifying thing, and as you say, it's because it's directed at children, and it's about indoctrinating children into this view of Jews as something pestilential and unwanted and to be got rid of.
And these characters are meant to symbolise the Jews here. These horrible caricatures in their homes and their
It's not
businesses.
funny, don't
and
laugh.
The object is,
reasonably accurate.
I was tearing up. I had to.
It's to round them up. So you roll dice, and these figures, which represent the sort of German policemen, go marching around the town, and when they land on the circles where the yellow cones are, the cones actually then sit on top of the hats of the policemen and are brought back to what's called the collection point, or the Sammelplatz, and then you set out to get another one, and it's a sort of race to be the first to round up 6.
And then when you get 6, it's off to Palestine, as it says here.
Where'd they get that number from?
For the Jews who rounded up, they are sent away to Palestine.
And this was created when, this game?
This was created in 1938.
Off to
look like an
Palestine.
oldie.
Not produced by the Nazi Party, but was a commercial undertaking, so made for profit.
Was it popular?
I believe it was very popular. It was a commercial success, although now it's a great rarity.
And it's so important not to forget that things like this existed.
Yes, that's right. Some people nowadays try to deny that the Holocaust ever happened, and the whole purpose of our collection is to make sure that those suggestions will always fail.
Well, it's not that rare. We've got 3 copies in our house. We play it regularly. Wonderful, you know, have a few English muffins, nice cup of English tea, and, you know, any room in the house, we like to have it on hand. Great fun, you know. Last night, you know, I collected 12.
New record. New record.
You know,
I haven't played this one. I have played Secret Hitler, but I haven't played this one. Secret Hitler is actually pretty fun, I have to say. But yeah, this one I'll have to give a try. Maybe I can get a copy on loan from Mark. But what is this? This is like This is like an SNL. Well, if it was funny. A bit, right? This is hilarious to watch.
Well,
what are they doing? This is
look,
not helping their cause.
I have to say, first of all, this game is disgusting, and it's a somber reminder of a very dark mark on history, on European history. Having said that, it's incredible. It's actually incredibly difficult to find. I did look it up, and if you're hoping to have this on your Christmas list, good luck. There's three copies that exist. And there was a travel copy, a smaller version that went on auction in 2024 and sold for almost $19,000. So it really, if somebody wants to get me one, though, I'm not going to say no, but it is hard to find. It's a collector's item. It's very expensive. Couple of interesting things. First of all, you notice the game is off to Palestine, which is almost already interesting because it's like, well, let's not forget the Holocaust happened. And it's like, well, wouldn't it be gas chambers in the game? Beyond that, he says it's very successful. And he also doesn't mention that the Nazi Party actually condemned this game. They didn't like it. They said that it sort of trivialized a serious issue. And so there's no actual evidence that it was commercially successful. You would think it would be easier to find copies if they were mass producing it. And it just kind of shows how the framing is made to make it seem as bad as possible. Right? So like, oh, this was super popular. They sold so many copies, and he doesn't mention that it was condemned. He doesn't mention the Nazis were like, we don't support that, which is probably why it failed commercially, because they didn't like it.
Look, these things are examples of sort of really propaganda. This is to make people say, "Oh my gosh, what was it actually like living in the 1930s?" But this has been if this was popular, they'd sold sort of hundreds of thousands of these. There would be thousands remaining. You've got to remember, I collect computer games, so I know what rarity's like. You know, if you said, you know, there's only 3 copies of a game left, you'd be like, well, is that one of those like special cartridges they made just for specific events, right, when Nintendo went round to, you know, college campuses or, you know, big shopping malls to show something off, or to do like the Super Nintendo competition carts? There might only be 3 or 4 of them left. You know, if there's something that's sold hundreds of thousands or millions of copies, those things are worth sort of $5 to $10 a pop. You know what I mean? This is complete nonsense. And look, we all know that everyone does have the Jewish board game Monopoly in their house, where you go around, buy everything up, and
guilty. Do you have one? Yeah, raise the rent.
Everyone's rent, force them out. You're the local slum landlord. And then at the end, Trump gives you your get out of jail free card, you know, your presidential pardon when you've had everyone living in misery for decades.
I will be sure to put this on my my Christmas list.
All right, okay. What else we got here?
Because we have the evidence in front of us.
They always said that Charlie Kirk was a Nazi, then they celebrated after they killed him. They tried to tell us that Black Lives Matter and that white people have always been villains. They burning flags in the streets and they scream at police, taking illegals to prison. They got rainbows on their bedroom walls and they swear to God that men can be women.
And people try to say that there's no great right-wing art.
Yeah, I'm not digging this, I have to say. I actually did not consume the TPUSA halftime show or the Bad Bunny halftime show. I skipped the entire Super Bowl for the first time in my life that I can remember.
Wow.
But yeah, this is trash. I don't know what
Look,
you think there, Mark.
I'm a very polite Englishman, so I don't want to be mean to this guy who clearly is trying his best and put a lot of effort in. But sometimes you need that friend. Sometimes you need that friend that puts his hand on your shoulder and says, look, this is not as good as this is. We know we had the black woman with the snazzy hat.
Yeah.
This is the white MAGA equivalent of black woman with snazzy hat. He needs a best friend that says, look, mate, you're not that good. Maybe buy an old Wii or Xbox 360, get Guitar Hero, and just do that in your bedroom, because this isn't going to be good. Like, he's tried really hard, so I'm not going to laugh at him, but it just isn't that good. This is a guy that needs a friend.
You may be surprised. You may be surprised. Tom McDonald is actually pretty popular. If you can believe
this is
it.
popular.
He's popular in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Who is this guy?
This is Tom McDonald. Let's see. I'm going to look up his YouTube here real quick. This can't be possible.
This guy's really popular.
This is a joke. You two are having me on.
He's super popular.
He has 5.2 million YouTube subscribers. And this video, Pray for the Left, has 2.2 million views in 5 days. Came out 5 days ago. 2.2 million views on YouTube, millions of views on X. I'm sure the comments are very supportive as well. I don't know how much of it is hate watching, but he is really like the king of right-wing music, you could say.
I mean, I've heard a couple of his songs that are pretty good, but
he usually raps. It's usually more rap
but
stuff.
the optics, the
I've never liked
walking
anything
across
personally.
the yard. I mean, it's just off.
I'm sorry, this is all very confusing for me.
The European mind cannot comprehend.
You just thrown it to the fire.
Look, I'm a big fan of people who can create like good alternative music or comics. So like, I'll give you an example. We all know who Stone Toss is. Like,
yes,
his little cute characters are fantastic, and you sort of see his comics and you understand why people love them, why he's big. You know, they always make you laugh. Everyone's got their favorite Stone Toss. You know, he's just brilliant. And when you can show that to your wife, and she's like, the characters are so cute. I love the message. This, on the other hand, I don't know. I mean, 5 million subs. This makes me want to reach for the cyanide pills. I mean, if the woman with all the stuff in her face, if you're watching and you've got their cyanide pill, please send it to P.O. Box. Yes.
Don't let your kids see this. You got to do what's right. Yeah, spare them.
But he's trying really hard, so I can't dislike him. He's trying really hard, but it just isn't cool in any way. it's the opposite of cool. It's bad.
They're the proof.
This is Chud, isn't it?
It is Chud. It's Chud Jack.
Brought to life.
So again, Mark, I don't know if you maybe don't get all this like Twitter stuff that's going on, but there was a contest that Twitter put up, $1 million contest to make a 30-second Grok ad. And it's a little bit of a controversy because one of our guys, Fraser Payne, he's called on Twitter, who makes lots of funny edits and stuff like this. He made this and it got like the most impressions out of any. Well, there was one guy who got like 4, but everybody thinks he bought it because his ad sucked really bad. It basically got the most like authentic impressions, and everybody was like really liked it, thought it was funny, and he was totally snubbed in the competition. No runner-up, honorable mention, nothing. Whereas the stuff that won was very sort of like predictable, corporate-friendly slop. So it was a little bit of a controversy.
I love this. I love this.
Too, right?
I love this. And I know young lads like this who really struggle. I know young lads who like, they would love nothing more than like a cute trad bird to sit and, you know, discuss their Warhammer figures with them, and you know, so they can explain their tactics on World of Tanks to their cute alternative girlfriend. This hits hard, and I really like this. It's authentic, it's good. And seeing the I've never seen a meme where the Chud Jack smiles. So to see Chud Jack smiling at the end with his nice, you know,
she's not smiling though.
He is smiling. She's not smiling.
She's not. That's what I'm saying.
It's good. I like it.
She looks like she's sobbing.
This thing's a tear to my English eye.
Yeah, it's not bad in general. But yeah, now that you mentioned it, I just noticed that she wasn't smiling. But I saw something about the competition. Didn't they kind of game the system on some of those videos that came out on top? I didn't follow it that closely, but I just saw some people complaining about it.
There was some allegations that they were like AI insiders. I don't know about all that. All I know is that our boy Fraser Payne got robbed, and I think it was a little too real. You know, I think what he made here, it speaks to this issue of AI sort of preying on lonely people in a way that maybe is not really good for the brand and good for the product, but it touches you in a sort of real way that this is actual art, right? Like this is actual art that he made here in this little advertisement, and it's cool.
Yeah, I like
think
that.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, AI in general though, you hit on that there. I saw, was it the New York Times or some type of testimony recently? There's been a few stories like this where AI, people have gotten so close to AI, it's like their constant companion, their friend. And then they get ChatGPT or whatever to teach them how to off themselves correctly, right down to the letter. And then they follow through and do it. So, yeah, I think we're going to see more stuff like that. And there's a lot of panic over AI just in general the last couple of days. That big article that came out. I don't know if you guys saw that, but
I saw it.
I can tell you this now. Right?
I didn't like it.
If you know in the Star Wars Attack of the Clones, they've got those big cloning vats on Camille Woman to the specification of the average incel, then implant her mind with one of these AI programs that just makes her completely amenable to all of his wants. And it mortgaged, it was like you basically bought this cloned human being, and she was like AI intelligent, and you paid like £400 a month for the rest of your life. Companies, there would be young men that would pay that and would take out a lifetime.
There would be older men that would pay it too.
It's a really sad thing.
400's a steal, actually. I might get one.
I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at my budget. I'm like, I think I can fit that in, actually. Yeah.
I might get one just for when the wife has a headache. Yeah. No,
that would make Israeli control over our foreign policy a little more palatable if they would drop one of those.
I think something like that is coming. I don't know about actual clones, but robots made to feel tactilely like, yeah, they're already actually on the market. They cost about like $200K, 200,000
into one of those big carports like you do the Teslas, and she'll re-energize overnight, and then in the morning you'll wake up and your sort of perfect robot, AI girlfriend will be like, hello, is it bacon this morning, eggs, or both? What can I do? And you'll be like, this is better than any woman that I've ever met.
Well, yeah. And I mean, if they cook and clean, 400 pounds a month really would be a steal, wouldn't it?
Well, so basically what we're all admitting is this is dark. This is so dark.
And I mean, once you have it there, you may as well check out all the features, just so it's a test run.
Kick the tires a little bit.
All right. Boomers in the 60s.
They should come to Australia, yes. I think they deserve a place in the world the same as everybody else.
I think we have to.
Have to what?
Take them in. I just don't think we've just got such a big country and lots of space. I think we just have to be kind in terms of the rest of the world, that's all.
I think we have a responsibility to do something for them as soon as we were involved in the war. We can't turn our back on the responsibility when we were previously involved.
I think we all have to think in terms of the one world, one humanity. And we all have international obligations to fulfill if it's going to be a peaceful world for everybody.
Do you think we should take as many as we can fit in?
Yes, I do, most definitely.
Yikes.
And that I think that we should cooperate in many ways to make sure that the needs of these people are fulfilled.
What about the racial tension that might well be created here as a result?
Well, I think that we have to implement new education schemes into the schools to change people's attitudes. And
racial tension?
Just teach kids not to be racially tense. I mean, we all kind of we all went through that, didn't we? Like, I don't know how bad it was. Like in Canada where I was, there was definitely racism, bad programming that was pretty well done, to be honest. But it's also like it was white people were the villains in the stories. That's kind of how they got you, right? Like, oh, we killed the natives, we enslaved the blacks, this and that. These normies, man, I don't think they could really conceive, when I was a kid, I grew up in a very white town, a small town, very white. And it was like, we knew we were living in the white man's world and it was taken for granted. The idea that would change, it was inconceivable. So why wouldn't you be nice to like the handful of minorities who are around? I don't think these people really imagine becoming minorities themselves and what that would look like.
Well, they clearly didn't. And I'm from an area that's majority black. My home where I was born,
in Memphis,
is majority black, and where I lived, West Memphis, right across the bridge, is also majority black. So when you grow up, now white people still had all the power when I was a kid. It's kind of changed a little bit now, but except in Memphis, the blacks had taken full control there. But I grew up in a different environment, and it's a real wild card when you go to school and you see like blacks beating whites to a pulp and stuff like that, and bloody fights every day. I guess a lot of people didn't grow up like that, but I did. So it was kind of ingrained in me at a young age.
Boomers like this are the most contemptible creatures that have ever existed. Never has a generation had so much, yet worked so hard to ensure that future generations have so little. It's unbelievable what these people gave away. And, when you actually take into account, these people grew up in a high trust, high IQ, sparsely populated society where you could buy your first house for around £2,000, but they ensured that their grandchildren would grow up in an overcrowded country, flooded with third world migrants that preyed upon them. And their first house would cost them so much they couldn't afford it until they were in their early 30s. It truly is the generation that handed it all away and did so with smug, knowing liberal grins on their faces. And when you speak to these boomers now and they say things like, well, it's not going to be my problem because I'll be dead by the time it all comes to a crashing end. Oh my God, it's just the level of contempt you have for some. I'm not saying all boomers, but the boomers with this mindset, you can't have enough contempt for them. What they've given away is criminal. What they inherited and the state they left what they inherited in, it's almost unforgivable.
And kind of just to stroke their own egos, right? Kind of just to be like, oh, I'm such a good person. Look at me, I'm such a good person, not like all my racist ancestors.
Well, the interviewer did at least mention, hey, are you at least thinking about possible racial tension? I was kind of surprised that he did that. Of course, she was completely oblivious to thinking about any of
they say things like, we have a much greater obligation to ensuring these third worlders don't live in poverty than we do to ensuring our grandchildren aren't going to be raped. Think about that. What? Our obligation is to ensure that our grandchildren are put in great jeopardy. Why is that our obligation?
Yeah,
not to rape.
I got into it just a little bit on Twitter yesterday with the Groypers because I was commenting on this Nick Fuentes take, which I agree with basically this aspect of because we're talking about the Super Bowl halftime show and how the propaganda. I don't know if you guys, you said you didn't watch it. Have you watched the show?
I mean,
Mark?
No, I haven't seen the whole thing through. I've seen a couple little clips.
You know the gist of it though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Ralph. Yeah. Anyway. It was like a fuck you to white people, but it was done in a sort of plausible, defensible way that made it that if you were to tell people that who are normies, they would call you like a schizo, right? Like, what do you mean? The message was about unity and love. What do you mean it's about them taking over or whatever, right? And I was like saying this, and the Groypers are kind of like saying that to me, like, well, you can't. Yes, it is a fuck you, but you can't say that because you sound schizo. And I'm at a point where it's like, I don't really care if I sound schizo as long as I'm right. You know, like I'm sure a lot of people told Jean Raspail and who Oswald Mosley, is that the British guy? You know, people like that, these controversial figures of history, I'm sure a lot of people told them that they couldn't sell the normies on what they were saying. But I look back at guys like that and I think, man, if only people listened to them. And that's how I want to live my life. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like this. I want people who actually know what's what to look back and say, you know, probably should have listened to that guy.
I went to a restaurant the day after here in Mexico, one of my favorite restaurants, and the waitress, she speaks English. So I talk to her every time I go there. And she said, hey, did you see the Super Bowl She's a big Bad Bunny fan, like almost everybody here.
Right.
And she's like, did you see it? I said, no. You know, why didn't you watch the Super Bowl? Well, my Chiefs sucked this year, so I wasn't really interested. And so we had that conversation. But the more we talked, you know, I was like, well, I didn't really get that offended by it, but a lot of people are because it's our main cultural event in some ways.
It was in Spanish.
It's in Spanish. And she actually said,
I can English.
Well, she surprised me a little bit because she said, I can actually understand some people being a little peeved about that, right? You know, that wouldn't happen in Mexico, I would say. But also the NFL is a multinational corporation, so I get it from that point, but yeah, it is a big fuck you.
I actually only saw the first half of the show because my father-in-law muted it and said, I can't understand what they're saying. Like that was like a direct quote. He's like, I can't understand what they're saying.
Well, they do play a lot of American music here. And I asked an ex-girlfriend of mine a couple years ago, it's like, you can't understand the word. She could barely converse with me on a small level in English. I'm like, you're listening to these songs, you can't understand them. She's like, I just like the sound. So
sure. You know, I listen to some Spanish music here. What is that? Oh man, what's that one? It's on the, you know, out in the streets, they call it murder, like the jam rock, whatever. I love that one. But it's like a time and a place. You know what I mean? This is the Super Bowl. It should be in English. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Of garlic salt on everything, and then people just started to all tell me I'm pregnant. That would literally be impossible because I'm not married yet. So no, I am not pregnant. Maybe I'll let you guys know when I am pregnant, but probably not, because last time I made an announcement about my personal life, all the e-girls started coming for me.
Did the Elijah Schaefer drama make it to the UK banned from Twitter people? How big of a story was that over there?
He's been having an affair, hasn't he?
That about sums it up. Yeah.
It was in the Daily Mail. Was it today or yesterday?
That's where I saw it. I mean,
Yeah.
do you know what? I've got quite a bit of contempt for people like that. I've never dealt with Elijah Schaefer, but like, if you're okay, full disclosure here, if you're a young man and you've kept yourself in good shape and you're not attached and you've got money, I do not hold any grudges if you go out there and you enjoy yourself and you have a string of attractive women. However, if you're married and you've got children and you're going out there pushing the line of nationalism, traditionalism, patriotism, and doing the right thing, and you're basically cheating on your wife. You're not just cheating on your wife, you're cheating on your kids as well. And it's a bit of a scummy thing to do. And people are probably going to start calling me Unk in the chat and saying that I'm not based. But, you know, ultimately, if you've got kids and you're cheating on your wife, I can't sort of say that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, who would do that? I have to say, but yeah, it's wrong to do, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's something we can all agree.
Make
it's
you
not
happy.
Great.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, obviously, it's wrong to do. I was basically joking about me having done this, but you know, there's a certain point where you just have to settle down.
Yeah, but then wait a sec. I'm going to actually stick up for you here, Ethan, but in a bad way. I mean,
that's how you usually stick up for me. But go ahead.
Well, no, but you're not a guy. You do the kill stream, which is basically sort of an outsider politics, drama, shock. You know, it's a crazy stream for people who want to embroil themselves in all kinds of madness. Now, occasionally there are political people who come on there, but not just right wingers. Now, you're not being held up as a paragon of virtue, but if you are an influencer and you're selling yourself on I'm the family man, you should listen to me, I'm a pillar of the community, I'm this paragon of virtue that you should all donate money to, but really you're knocking birds off left, right, and center behind your wife's back. Yeah, I think you should be, you know, held to account for that. And I'm not attacking Elijah Schaefer personally, but you've got to live up to what you say you are. You know, that's the way it is.
By the way, that was a great defense of me because I've said that myself, and I specifically don't hold myself up as any type of moral example or even a representative of, you know, white nationalism or anything like that.
You can't chain the alpha male down. Yeah, women have to understand if they're going to be with Ethan Ralph, this is a guy who fucks. Okay. Yeah.
I just genuinely hope that Elijah Schaefer sorts it out with his wife, that it doesn't lead to like the end of their relationship and you don't end up with kids.
Well, I believe they have filed for divorce. Both of them, from what so it's not looking great for that.
Also, shout out to
sorry for the kids. You know, like when we do things as a family, it's so important to my children that like mummy and daddy are there, and like just so you know, if I could get this guy in a room and speak to him like man to man, I'd say, was that moment of like pleasure with the young bird worth all the family events that you've just destroyed? You know, the whole, you know, is it worth your kids growing up in a single parent household? And you know, being a white man is about understanding that saying no to pleasure in the short term leads to good things in the long term. The deferment of pleasure is the white man's thing. We understand that, you know, having the one sweet now is not as good as waiting an hour and getting the whole bag of sweets. You know, that's what makes us the clever ones. That's what makes, you know, the family unit is important. And I look at this and I think to myself, yeah, I'm not gonna throw any bloke under the bus if he's a young single man and he's out there, you know, enjoying himself. But when you got kids, it's time to put them first. That is the big unc's take, basically.
Well,
and you can call me uncle all you want, but I'm sticking with it.
It may shock people, but I agree with every single word you just said. And if you lose contact with your children, lose your family, that's something you don't ever really get over. Speaking from experience, not to bring down the mood, but you really should think about those things, and it changes the course of your life. You know, I've had some of these issues, and you need to be really careful. Only get married when you're ready, and don't think you're going to carry on Ralph Amell style while you're married. Things that they let go when they were fiance or girlfriend. It's totally different when they're wifey and your daughter's there, etc. You know, so just words from the Ralph Amell. I'll be very careful.
All right, let's see what else we got here.
Bee venom hairline part 2. So there's the bump from the first sting. It was really just a test sting. Today's gonna be the real dose, the real first dose. I'm gonna do at least 2 or 3 on each side. The first real test, we'll see. There is a few like stronger looking young hairs coming out right here. I don't know.
Using bee venom to grow his hairline out.
You just daze them, however that may be, where you smack
just
it,
daze them,
or whatever. You don't want to kill it, but you just knock it out of the air, and then pin it down where you could grab both wings. If you grab just one wing, it'll turn around and sting your finger. So you have to get both wings.
Both wings.
This is brilliant.
Is there anything showing this work?
I don't know exactly why he eats the bees, but that's also part of it. So, I mean, let me ask you, Mark, is this guy some kind of Jester Max clout cell, or is he content mogging all of us Sigma, whatever? I don't know.
Look, we've talked about the evils of the boomer generation, but this is the end product of the boomers' destruction of our wonderful society. So the boomers have brought about the conditions that created the Zoomers, and the Zoomers are the worst. You know, anyone that puts the word maxing on the end, you know, as the sort of suffix for any stupid word, you know, it
is kind of funny though.
Thrashing, you know, and I suppose this guy is bee maxing.
Yeah.
For some reason, he thinks this is going to grow his hair. I mean, honestly, this is sort of probably a step beneath like eating the Tide Pods. I mean, but I do see people doing this. I mean, there are YouTube channels where people do sting themselves with different like animal venoms to see if they can take it. And I mean, we saw that cinnamon challenge, didn't we? Where they tried to eat a spoonful of cinnamon, and some of them actually died because you inhale the cinnamon, it gets in your lungs, and you get a serious lung infection, and you die. You know, the Zoomers are essentially the worst, is what I'm saying. But they are the product of the boomers' destruction of society. This is truly the end of the white life cycle, I believe, and he is, you know. But is he even white? That might be the one positive.
Well, there's a question
Is he
there.
white?
I did want to ask you, how did you know about all these various like stinging channels, but you didn't know Tom McDonald? Has he just not reached across the pond? Or
Look, I'll tell you this: when you have small children,
okay, yeah.
they do get hold of occasionally their parents' phones. And the things that you get recommended after they've had 5 minutes of your phone. So sort of, I do know the lyrics to every Huntrix song from K-pop Demon Hunters. You know, that's an interesting sort of Collett tidbit of information.
I'll say this: do not Xanax Max. I'll just say that as my final.
I can tell you this. The bee stinging channels you know, when your daughter says, "Can we watch the channel on YouTube where they sting themselves with bees?" You're like, "Whose house have you been to?" You know, what is this? What? But yeah, I do know about these things.
That kind of energy, like we should rip people apart from their families.
Are you a man?
Wow. Wow, is that a question? Wow. Okay.
How do you feel about ripping people from their families?
Does that feel good?
Fucking house nigga in here. Sir, I need to move. Fucking house nigga working for the fucking KKK.
Whoa.
Why are you calling
Uh-oh.
a man?
He did not like the question. Are you a man? She
If
did
there
not
hadn't been a
like that.
camera on him, that would have been a beatdown probably. Right there. I don't know what's plus just the audacity. Look, I've had problems with the law. I think that's known. I mentioned it already in this show. But, you know, it just kind of naturally happened during the course of a wild evening or whatever, right? You go out looking for trouble with the police. I don't really have respect for that at all. And it's just, I don't know, it's just flagrant ignorance.
They're just you know, auditing. They're doing a rights audit, a First Amendment audit.
I mean, what kind of a guy does that? Fucking house nigga, bitch.
No.
The hard R. Oh. Maybe this is more your speed, Mark. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me skip ahead because we
need to see all this. This is top. Look, it's pushing 1 a.m. If we're having the cringe, let's have as much cringe as possible.
All right, I'll give you a little more here.
This is even worse than Guitar Man. This is awful. This is like
you're not missing much. Trust me. I listened to the lyrics and it's like he was saying nothing at all. It's just
well, he made Tom McDonald look a lot better. Mark was right about that. So,
all right, this is an interesting story of a kid in Australia who I guess his family, they were stranded on a boat and they didn't have any like way to contact anyone, so he swam to shore like multiple kilometers. This like 8-year-old kid or whatever, very heroic. And it's like a longer story, but I clipped out just like an interesting aspect of it here for you guys.
Just keep swimming. And then finally I just made it to shore and I hit the bottom of the beach and I just collapsed. And then after that I had to sprint 2 kilometers to go get to the phone. And then when I got to the phone, there was a lot of foreign people on the beach. So I couldn't really get much help. And so I ran to the phone and I called 000 and I had to call 000 police. I said I need helicopters, I need planes, I need boats. My family.
What a nightmare. You swim multiple kilometers, you run multiple kilometers to get to the beach, and no one speaks English, no one cares about your problems. This isn't a country, you know? This is not a state for your country to be in. It's not a home. It's not a community.
Well, I'm a foreigner here and it wouldn't even be like that. If I was to have swam to the beach, they would at least try to help me. It's disgusting. It's amazing the kid's still alive. Honestly, that's my main takeaway from the whole thing. But
no, imagine how terrifying this is. You've been swimming for probably half an hour. You could have died. You wash up on the beach in your own country and you expect your countrymen to rush to your aid and say, what's wrong? And somebody say immediately, this boy needs help. And you say, look, my family is still out there on the boat. And then somebody picks up their mobile, we need help. We're right here. I'll give you the GPS. It's on my cell phone. But instead, he washes up on the beach and all these people who can't even speak his language, can't even speak English, are just staring at him like he's a little idiot and just like, who's this jerk? He feels like he's in a total foreign land. In fact, if they'd been blown out to sea and he'd ended up swimming, swimming to shore, and he found out we've been swept so far out. We've been swept to a foreign country, but he wasn't. He was in his own country, and the joke's on him. This is heartbreaking. I mean, when you're listening to that, and there'll be politicians that'll be saying, look, we would have given him some child bravery award, but no, he can't get any child bravery award now because he said
he mentioned the foreigners. Yeah.
He won't be getting the child bravery award. He won't be, getting the big gold medallion or the visit from the prime minister now because he said the bad thing. That's how bad it is. He's now, despite saving his family and being a hero, he's officially the bad guy. That's
he's probably on a watch list now.
Yeah.
Well, we love him over on right-wing Twitter. We love that kid. He should put up. I said this when the story first. I was like, he should put up a GoFundMe. I'd buy that kid a beer or a PlayStation or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever kids are into. Maybe not a whole play. I would contribute to the PlayStation. Yeah.
I don't know. In some ways, this will sound crazy to some people. I live in a great part of Mexico, but in some ways, I'm a foreigner here. Of course, there's not that many gringos here. There's a good number, but vastly outnumbered here in Merida. But it's a really safe place, and in some ways, the racial dynamics here even vastly outnumbered. It's safer here in certain ways than it is in the West, and in a lot of places.
Did he say though that in the nice neighborhood there was like protests because of gentrification and stuff like that?
In Mexico City, yeah, there were protests. That's Condesa. Condesa's literally one of the nicest neighborhoods in the world. But it's like a world, like a lot of gringos and Europeans and people from everywhere living there. The upper crust of Mexican society as well. So yeah, they've had some protests there that hasn't reached into.
Is gringo's a little bit derogatory, isn't it? Like it's kind of like goy, right? Like it's
what is gringo?
Yeah,
kind of. But I just call myself gringo.
You just roll with it, yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, it's a little derogatory. Yeah.
Go to the house when they do come in. But until then, your calls with Ankush Kadori. Jack is in Texas, Republican. Jack, good morning to you.
Yes, hello, Mr. Kadori. It's a pleasure to speak with you. This is Jack Strickland. I would like to get your thoughts on a very specific example of political extremism related to events surrounding ICE activity. This actually involves a former attorney with the Rhode Island law firm of Hyde, Rochford, and Carroll. His name is Will Stansel, and he's an overt white nationalist who is currently wanted by the FBI. Stansel has a very large following among the far right, and he recently released a pro-ICE manifesto titled "It Do In Fact Be Like That."
Okay. Prosecute a case here.
This is not true. This is not true. This guy is trying to embarrass and tarnish this guy named Will Stansel.
We'll go to Don. In
He's
Arizona,
smiling though. Look, he's always laughing.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows the Will Stansel show. It's like world famous now. All right. I don't want to keep Mark too long because it is getting late. Let me try to maybe skip a couple of heads, make sure we don't have any good ones. Okay. So I did want to have one piece of sector news, as it's known, given that we have our resident man on the street here, Ethan. Yeah, Ethan Ralph. Tell me
that word. Who thought of that term? What genius marketer came up with that term? Yeah,
I did think since we had Ralph here, we should get a little sector update. So I want to show you this one.
I think it is, but let's see.
You tell me why, sir. You tell me why, sir. You tell me why, sir. Madam Tronsky, sir.
Stop it,
Tell me why you Snapchat the minors, sir. You tell me why, sir. You tell me why, sir. You tell me why, sir.
How is any pill stream I've ever done worse than that? Seriously. Worski dressing up as a woman like 15 times over the last 6 months as well. I thought you were going to bring up Josh Moon and his total.
Well, look, I don't know. I don't know what's true. There's allegations. The allegations I heard are that Madam Trunsky was Snapchatting a minor and Janny Josh swept it up. I don't know if any of that's true, but that's what I heard. I figured you would be the man to ask.
Well, that was something that came out in 2018 and, pretty much had him dead to rights. But a lot of people the narrative kind of changed and he was able to kind of wiggle out of that. I guess, I kind of went along with that too. I don't really think it was false at this point, but that's not even my issue. You talked about Gabe Hoffman and his influence. Like, you're one of the few besides me who's actually talked about, I know we don't have time probably to go into it so deeply, but if you notice, Josh Moon never talks about Zionist power anymore. Neither of those two do, even though they both used to. It's not an accident, guys. And all of a sudden, Josh has all these, access to banking again, and he's restored on YouTube again. And it's not really anything to do with Jewish power. It's actually the Indians, right? And so if you think this is an accident, you're wrong. And then he got mogged by Turkey Tom, which was so delicious, I have to say.
Yeah. I'm not some paragon of virtue myself. I don't like to judge these people and that, but it is kind of shameful, all of it, isn't it? Isn't it all just kind of shameful?
Well, yeah.
the Turkey Tom mogging, the submission to Gabe Hoffman. Gabe Hoffman's been trying to get me banned off YouTube. He was bragging about it, and I put out a video and said, "Fuck you, Gabe Hoffman." Of course, I don't get offered however much money from the millionaire guy. So, look, my lines are open, Gabe, if you want to talk. No, that's a joke. Mark, do you have any idea what we're talking about?
No.
just as well.
I assume that the fat guy in the silly outfit was that guy called PPP.
That's right. Yeah. That's the People's Populist Press.
They do a show called Kino Casino,
yes,
which is basically like the competitor show to the Kill Stream, but they're on Kick. And they mainly mog a guy called DSP, Darkside Phil, who's one of the internet's 3 largest lolcows. There's him, the really fat guy, Wings of Redemption, and then there's Black DSP, aka Low Tier God, and those 3 are sort of the trifecta of lolcows.
Well, you know a lot more than you let on.
I know, he always does. He's done that before on the Kill Stream. I don't really know much, but here's this
here's all the lore, yeah.
But I don't know a lot, but no, and I sort of, well, I have a secret shame, and it's that I have dabbled in the DSP sort of detractorverse, and basically you can, those videos by Memology 101 called DSP Tries It, which is him just sort of having a meltdown every time people don't donate him enough money. They are truly wondrous. And I've noticed Kino Casino had a bit of an arc where they pretended to be his friend, then they weren't his friend, and that was sort of like all for the drama and the donations and to keep the show sort of relevant. But it was something that I did sort of dip into.
They act like they got over on DSP. People have audited how much he made during that period. He made $70K to $100K off of them.
Yeah, he did.
Their promotion of him. So, I'm sure he's not too broken up about it. And also they
he probably is, because he spends it all on WWE legends, doesn't he? New champion. He runs through he spends like $1,000 a week playing a mobile game. The guy's an absolute wreck.
I don't want to talk bad about Phil. They tried to set him against me, and I was on that arc for a minute, and then I was like, he's getting played, and just kind of dropped it. But I've done a couple of collabs actually.
I know you have.
I was on
he is a disgrace. I mean, he begs relentlessly. He begs relentlessly for like 150. He wants $300 a day in super chats so that he can play WWE Legends, get DoorDash, and drink gin. Look, I've got nothing against people making a living off creating content, but I'll say this: if every day you're crying to your audience that you need to pay, I mean, who pays their bills daily? It's like he gets his gas bill daily, and then when he solicits this money from his supporters, he runs to the bathroom for a bathroom break so he can pour money into WWE champions to win JPEGs of wrestlers. I mean, it is reprehensible. And as I said, I've got nothing against him making money, but his streams are joyless trash. I mean, look, I've got to say this. If you're going to watch a gaming streamer, right, you're watching them for 3 reasons. Firstly, that they play the game well, or that they do something good, like they're a speedrunner or they're particularly good at a game. The second reason you watch them is they've got sort of insightful takes. So they talk about the game, they talk about the world, you know, they've got entertaining dialogue. And the third, and this is quite crucial, that they're enjoying themselves when they're playing it. Now, DSP ticks none of those boxes. He is a joyless, talentless charisma vacuum who sits there for 6-hour stints, failing at computer games, having no fun whatsoever, and berating his audience for money for him playing the game badly. He is the reason that games are filled with yellow paint, see-through wall mechanics, and endless tutorials that allow you to complete the games with little or no skill. He's the reason gaming is rubbish. DSP is literally gaming cancer. That's what I'm going to say.
Now, I knew you didn't like Phil already, because we had talked about this at one point. Not to be the representative of DSP here, but it's not like we're good buddies or anything. But I mean, they willingly give him money, right? I get that.
The yellow paint that's like a deep gamer, because I was
No,
for a second I was like,
his audience.
Okay, did the stripper coerce me into throwing me like
Bill
that?
came in today. Please make me make $150 for this 6 hours of constant Street Fighter 6 losses. Please send me. And then as soon as he gets his money, he's like back on WWE Champions. You know, like another $10, another $10. The guy is awful. And look, I watch people who stream games, but I am better at gaming than DSP. I've done Zelda playthroughs, Metroid playthroughs. I've had fun. People see me do like no death playthroughs of really hard old Super Nintendo games, and I'll talk about like the history of the game, what it meant to me when I was a kid. Maybe my mum bought it for me as a present, so I've got happy memories. You watch him play, and it is a beggar minute, isn't it? It's like he just begs. And every stream, it's not about the game, it's about how much money he's making on that stream. You know, he updates his viewers in real time to like the number of people watching, how many super chats there's been. It's awful. It's so bad. And this poor audience is basically coerced into giving him about $1,800 per week. And then he'll hold a marathon at the end of the month to squeeze even more out. It's awful. It's awful. And he's bad at games. Like, watch him play Mario Kart. He can't play these games, but it's always the game's fault. It's never his fault. Every one of his fails, it's the game's fault. He is awful. Honestly, like, as human beings, and he's got a haircut. He looks like a 50-year-old.
You're a real
just keeps going.
This is wild, bro.
Mark, isn't there a lesson there of some sort? Like maybe your sense of shame is holding you back, and if you just begged and berated your audience a little more, you could be making $1,800 a show too, or whatever. No.
But I can totally get down with gaming streamers who are entertaining, but he's not entertaining, he's not insightful, he's not a good gamer. All he can do is panhandle for 6-hour sessions, and he does that like twice a day. He spends 12 hours gaming a day. Like,
he's a hardworking man.
He's dedicated. That's what What's
awful.
criticized?
It's just awful.
The hardest working man in streaming, Mark.
But him, Low Tier God and Wings of Redemption. They are.
Low Tier God is hilarious. I'm sorry. Every clip I see of him, I'm cracking.
He is bad. The best Low Tier God clip is the one where he goes to the barbers and they use concealer to blend his hair in, and he sat there with his bottom lip poking out, like pouting, as the barber tells him he's getting the exact words, the flyest cut. I mean, it's like, God, man, you're like, why would you allow somebody to put concealer on you? You're a man. As soon as you go out to the club and you start sweating a bit, your hairdo's gonna run off. And he's obviously wearing a hairpiece as well. No one has a shiny rim around their forehead. awful. All three of them awful. But Wings of Redemption, you kind of feel sorry for him because he did have it all. He did have friends, and now he's just sort of Keemstar's, like, for want of a better term, bitch. You know, that's where he's.
Wings is the most detestable out of the three.
No, DSP is the worst. Then then Wings has got
it's Wings.
some
Wings.
DSP
And he's
worse.
attached to some curious
goodness.
activity as far as advocating activities with children. If you know his whole record,
I've not heard that. So
yeah,
I'd have
well,
to see truth for
yeah,
that. I'd have
you
to
might
see that. I
wanna
mean,
look into some of that.
like DSP, he is. Look, just watch. This is how you don't play Mario Kart, the outsider version, Mario Kart World. I have nothing but contempt for a man that can't play Mario Kart. He's meant to be a professional gamer and he can't play Mario Kart. There's little worse than that in the world. A grown man who plays games for 12 hours a day but can't stay on the course in Mario Kart. It's bad.
I'm never
I
bringing up
stand
the
by that.
sector again on this show.
The chat's on my side. The chat is
They
saying
are.
DSP
Wings 007 is in the chat. He's on my side. And look, check out. I went on Lolcow Live. I think that was January 2024. They haven't had me back since because I brought all this up on air, and he still hates me to this day. And I steamrolled Boogie as well. But memories, I guess.
Boogie's so tragic. Boogie's so tragic.
Yeah, I feel so sorry for him now. I really do.
You guys, it's getting late. I want to do one more clip before we get to super
I just want to
chats.
say this as well. I want to say this as well. I don't know how Keemstar gets away with it because Keemstar is like the most manipulative, sort of soulless human being on the planet. And he gets these sort of fat, washed up streamers and he gives them just enough money so that they can keep buying like takeaway or whatever crap they buy or like Magic the Gathering cards. And that's definitely Boogie, isn't it? He spends all his money on Magic the Gathering cards, takeaways, and he's sort of strangely not underage but looks underage girlfriend. And Keemstar just keeps them trapped in their own personal hells. Keemstar's like the devil, isn't he? He sort of gives them this sort of just enough money to subsist, but they have to perform like monkeys for him. That Lolcow Live, it truly is the work of the devil, you know. But the people trapped in it probably do deserve the purgatory that they're in. It's kind of a curious show. You'd fit in really well there, though, Ralph. You'd fit in well.
I don't think so. I've been on there, and Keemstar, I can't really work. He made me promise not to drop the N-word and all this stuff before he let me on that time, which he thought
he'd never let me on.
He let me on. He took me on my word, and I didn't. I just
never let me on.
I just roasted them both. I would never. I would have to be absolutely out of it. Do
you know what really? Do you know what really got to me though? Do you know what really got to me? Like, so Warski made some like mean comments about me, and I don't know why. Because like I always liked Andy Warski. I got on really well with him.
That's
and then he made mean comments. He was mean. No, why would anyone be mean about me? I'm generally quite nice, unless you're talking about DSP, who I've roasted and deserves the roasting. DSP, if you ever watch this, you deserve all the roasting you get. You are reprehensible.
Worski might have had a little too much boxed wine, Mark.
Well,
maybe that's what it was.
We've talked before a lot, actually, Mark and I, and he said nothing but good things about Andy. Never, I've said a lot about
Andy.
Never, ever said anything bad about him. So for Worski to do that doesn't surprise me because he's a manipulator.
Wait a sec. The chat is saying that the quartering is on a downward trend.
Yeah, he had an incident. What was that? A couple days ago. I guess he was looking up forced cream pie porn or something like that. I was talking to a collaborator and they said, "What exactly is a forced cream pie?" And I was like, "I don't know. That sounds kind of like rape or rapey. I'm not sure." But
Dude,
that sounds awful.
Yeah,
I was the quartering's biggest defender, but I didn't know about all that. That's
Look,
new to,
I'm going to say this,
me.
right? I have to say this because it needs saying, right? People are saying, why do I dislike DSP so much? It's because he makes a 6-figure sum every year for streaming games, which is most people's like ideal job. Like, all I'm going to do all day is just stream games and I'm going to make like $100,000. But the net outcome of this vast sum of money and ideal job is just a grumbling, bitter man who has wasted the money on a mobile game. Like if you said to most people, you're going to make $100,000 a year streaming the games of your choice, they would be the happiest person alive. For me, it'd be like, well, I'm going to do some PUBG. I'm going to get my mates on. We're going to split some of the money. I'm going to get like a producer. You'd be over the moon if you're making $100,000 a year to stream games. And this guy is just a joyless, soulless monster that just begs for more so he can spend it on like a mobile game. It's like, oh, a mobile game. God.
I do hate mobile games. I can't fuck with those. But, I will say this, not to criticize Phil, but I would be more apt to waste that money and have wasted it on whores and other women and drugs and stuff like that. Not WWE champions, but yeah. So
if you gave me, if people said to me, look, Mark, you're going to be on like $100,000 a year, I'd just make sure my family was so well looked after and so happy. My missus would, if I was making $100,000 a year, my missus would be like the ultimate sort of stay-at-home mum. It would just be like family time would be so good. And this guy is like sending his wife out to work so he can spend the $100,000 on WWE champions. It's scandalous.
Well, I won't say there's been some good years. I'll say 2022, from a certain perspective, was the best year that I ever had. And yeah, the blowjobs were really good that year.
You are reprehensible, Ralph.
Yeah, that was really good. Every single dirty thing I wanted to do. Yeah, it was all on. But things can change.
Sometimes you're
now
up,
you're
sometimes
giving the pleasure out for like $5 here and there. For you.
I hope you're doing well, sweetheart.
Ralph's gone from the beneficiary to the.
I'm not bitter at all, clearly.
I'm
not bitter at all. I'm not bitter like Phil. No way. Not bitter.
All right, you guys. I want to do one more clip I queued up here, and then we'll do the super chats. Okay, and then I'll let you go.
I met the Quartering on your show, and he was such a nice chap. The Quartering was a nice chap.
Yeah, I had no idea he was doing 4 screen pies. That's crazy.
He just likes 4 screen pie porn. I don't know.
That's crazy work, Jeremy. You need to. I heard he's going to church now. He needs to go to church a little bit harder.
That's the problem. He's been doing that thing. Obviously, I have my own journey with faith, but like. I don't talk about it that much because I'm not exactly living a life of piety, right? Like, so I don't lead with scripture and stuff like that. But he's kind of taken on that persona, and then you see his history.
Okay. All right, what do we got here?
What do you think of Birmingham Cathedral? It's shit, but it's a nice place to smoke weed. It's not my ancestors. I don't know whose ancestors those are.
It's not your ancestors, no.
It's not.
No.
I queued that one up for you, Mark. What do you think of Birmingham Cathedral? Is it kind of shit?
I think this is sort of like, considering the laughs we've had, this is a bit of a sour note to end things on. Unfortunately, this is so when you see migrants, you usually see them through the lens that the shitlib wants you to see them through. So they want to tell you that the migrant is sort of the hardworking guy. He's actually the guy that's, stopping the white girl from being abused because he's telling his white friends, consider her feelings, white guys. Yeah. You see the migrant through these sort of rose-tinted lenses that are put over your eyes by the self-hating white liberals. But this is sort of unfiltered migrant, isn't it? This is sort of like Birmingham Cathedral's crap. My ancestors didn't build it. I don't care about it. I come here to smoke weed. And as a final sort of horrible thought, this is the kind of guy who is going to be smoking weed on the ashes, the decaying ashes of Western civilization. His offspring will be the ones sitting in the ruins of the West, smoking weed, saying, why would we have cared about this? This is the shocking, glimpse into the future. His offspring will be the ones at this rate that inherit the West, run it into the ground and sit in the ruins, disrespecting everything our ancestors toiled to create. What an ultimate black pill. This is why you've got to be a nationalist, because if you're not, you're helping to bring about the worst possible future, the worst outcome.
Can I ask you a question real quick before we wrap? The UK, is it even in a condition where it's governable right now? There's been 7 prime ministers in 10 years. The turmoil with Starmer, and somehow he's still going to stay in power. I've read a lot about it. I kind of follow UK politics like a hobby, right? I follow US politics closer, but just your thoughts on those 2 points, I guess.
I don't think the UK, the UK doesn't have a lot of time left, and you can tell by what they're bringing in. They're bringing in this sort of tyranny. It's basically a narco-tyranny. Things are getting so bad that the only way to hold it together is sort of with mass facial recognition, digital ID, the abolition of jury trials, fast-tracking thought criminals straight to jail. You can tell things are going down quick because they are bringing in more and more repressive measures in order to hold it together. And obviously, we are multiculturalizing as fast as they can. We're speed running the minority, the white minority. And when we initially blew the whistle on white minority, it was about 2066. Now it's about 2050. Things are speeding up, and they are getting worse. But as they get worse, they become more and more ungovernable, and you end up with a polarized society. And what we're seeing is this sort of national divorce, where you're either on the we want more of the liberalism, we want more of the migrants, or we want to put a stop to it. So the next election is going to be, are you voting Reform to put a stop to it? And whether they will put a stop to it's debatable, and we're not going to debate that here because it's a really complex issue. Or are you going to vote Labour and want more of it? And I think we are going to head towards a Britain that is so divided, you're never going to put it back together again. It's going to be a multi-ethnic, sectarian society, and that will come about long before whites are a minority.
I think you're right. I don't know. It's just a lot of troubling. The trend lines look worrying, is all I'll say. And just the fact that Starmer is still holding on to power is a disgrace. Anybody with any type of code, I'm just coming from the Ralph mail, resign, brother. Like this is just a disgrace. I heard he was threatening to call a general election. I don't know if this is true, but he threatens the people in his own party. Like, hey, you want to defend your seat? We'll go ahead and have an election. Which they don't want to do because they would lose their seat. So, I don't know. Just a disgusting guy all around. If you know his history, which you do.
I do.
Yeah, I don't want to end on a black pill. So if you guys are gonna give me a little bit more time, let me play like one more.
Sorry,
clip.
I slipped into interview mode there for a sec. I just want to get that in.
No, that's all good. But let's end on something a little bit lighter here.
End on something that I can get arrested. It's like you've been a good. You've been a good sport, Mark, for the last sort of 2 hours and 7 minutes. You stayed up to 1 in the morning. You brought me in some good super chats, but we'll see you in about 5 years when they let you out of jail. Thanks.
Hey, Mark, what do you say we do a little hate speech?
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Girl, next time somebody hit your nigga, you're supposed to beat their ass. Bye, bitch. Bye, bitch.
Oh, they cockeyed. Go to the next call.
The music, I love. Oh my God.
Oh, that soundtrack.
That's brilliant.
Who did that?
She's like, she was doing a Twitter space apparently. Like she's levying like a career now, which I don't know how I feel about that part. I'm getting a little tired of these girls. They just drop an N-bomb and now they get 100,000 followers. This was very recent. This was like a couple days ago, I think 2-3 days ago, and it went viral on X.
When I first saw it, I was like, "This must be staged." But
I was wondering if it was AI.
The way they're all
AI is getting so good now.
It's like one of those zombie films, isn't it? When everyone starts turning to the zombie, and like one person gets out of the carriage, and he's just like, as it drives away with all the zombies trying to get out and tear it to pieces. That was a good place to end. But I hope she profits well off her newfound fame and doesn't end up like me, banned from 29 European countries.
I hope she makes $1 million.
Yeah, well, hey, like, of course, officially, we don't condone that kind of language. That's, you just don't do that in polite society. Okay, let's do some super chats. Let's see. Hate Speaker says, didn't see Ethan Ralph alive on my 2026 bingo card.
A lot of people didn't. Yeah, salute, sir. Josh Mills predicted my death like 3 years in a row, I think. Speaking of Josh again, so yeah, I'm still here.
Still here. What's the poll? They got to do like a poly market. Will
Yeah, there
Ethan
needs
Ralph...
to be one. There is some kind of death pool going on. Actually, I haven't investigated it, but I know I'm in it. Nothing new.
Well, I'm rooting for you, man. I got.
That means I died.
Yeah, no, I'm putting my money on
you
you
want
to
me
live.
to? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I got it.
Shift Demeanor sent $20. Love Ethan and Mark. Those two are such great personalities. Yeah, don't we all? This has been a really fun show. I gotta say. You guys really brought the heat. Nigger pussy. No, whoops. Sorry.
Whoa.
That's my dyslexia. That's my his name's Piggernussy. That's my bad.
Oh, mate. So this is like, they are speed running me to jail now. It's like,
I misspoke. Piggernussy says,
fully disavow.
I have to go out for cigarettes. Unlike fathers in the African American community, actually will be coming back. And then he sent another 10 and he said, good news. My trashy Hispanic neighbors are getting their Cadillac repossessed right now. Hopefully they'll be evicted next and I'll get a white neighbor. Hopefully. Oh, and then he said, LP, if my scummy neighbors get evicted, you should buy their house. Together we can rule the HOA with an iron fist. Okay, and so that's it on Rumble. Let me check here. Tristan Chase sent 20 on Power Chat. He says, ask Mark, how's about the 2 boomer gays who were murdered by a black Colombian porn star they brought to London to pump, but he butchered them instead and left their bodies in a suitcase on a bridge. Also, great job with the BBC exposed recording.
So, well, thank you for that, but I've not heard about this this case. That sounds absolutely sickening. I have to say that the most degenerate case we've heard about recently is the one of the drag queen who was the convicted paedophile.
Yeah.
He ended up dying after having sex with a dog because he was allergic.
Didn't they give him like a parade for a funeral too, or something like that? Or
yeah.
He's like a convicted like child molester. Yeah, I meant to cover that on the show. That's
I missed that one somehow.
Okay, well that's
hey man,
horrifying is what you're looking for.
You know what I say?
Horrifying.
You know what I say? Love is love. Okay.
I think that's what he said. He said that. The dog said woof, and then he had a
Okay. And let's see here. Wandering Neanderthal just sent 10. He said, in the spirit of rushing Mark off to jail. I better read ahead here. He says, imagine how much brighter the future would have been had the Windrush been shelled from shore.
What?
Had the Windrush been shelled from shore. What is Windrush? Is that like a boat of migrants?
The Windrush is the name of the boat that brought the first Afro-Caribbeans to Britain. So it's largely seen as sort of the most, it's largely seen as kind of like the totemic sort of vessel that brought the first sort of immigrants to Britain. Now, obviously, post-Second World War, that's when sort of mass immigration began. And the Windrush was largely seen as this symbolic first phase of that, where a large boat named the Windrush brought, as I say, Afro-Caribbean migrants here.
Got it. Okay. Tigger Nussy sent another 5. He said their house has a pool. I'm just saying. I mean, dude, is it in Olympia? Because we're looking for a house in Olympia right now. But unless you're living in Olympia, and also I don't think I can afford a house with a pool, quite frankly.
House with a pool wouldn't really work here in the UK unless it's an indoor pool. It's generally sort of too cold and rainy to enjoy an outside pool.
Most people don't have air conditioning in the UK either. Most places don't. That's my pet peeve.
Yeah, I heard more people die in Europe from air conditioning than die from guns in America. That was like a little stat I heard recently, which I mean, Europe's a big place, but
you mean
still.
from lack of air conditioning?
Yeah, lack of air conditioning.
Yeah, people where I'm from, people die every year. Literally just old people in their houses and immobile people. It gets so hot during the summer. It happens here too because it gets so hot. They just find people dead. Yes, that happens a lot where I grew up.
Maybe occasionally.
Very
It's not a
occasionally.
regular
I'm dead serious. Every year they find old people dead in their house because they don't have air conditioning. Yeah.
Wandering Neanderthal said, probably the best progress report episode I've tuned into live. The chemistry between you three is great. I'm glad it worked out. You know, Ethan, no disrespect. I was a little nervous. I was, which Ethan am I getting this time? But it did work out.
I've always really enjoyed it.
Well, there's a couple different versions. I know what he means about that.
Am I going to get the Bryson Gray Ethan or the charming, funny guy we all know and love? Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it too. I appreciate all the kind comments. I appreciate, we're not done just yet, but I appreciate you having me on. Mark's an old friend too. Both you guys. I really appreciate, as the years go by and the controversies have stacked up a little bit, you find out who your real friends are over the years. So anybody who still cuts me some slack, I do appreciate always.
Yeah, well, we basically are done here. That was the last super chat, I believe. So we'll go to plugs real quick, and then we'll call it a night. Ethan, you were giving your farewells there, so why don't you do your plugs too? Of course, as always, you can find links in the description for you. You'll find Ethan's X and his Rumble there, links to that. But anything else you want to tell people about?
That's pretty much it. Rumble.com/Killstream Live. At the Ralph Retort over on X. The Ralph Retort on the Ralph Retort on Telegram, and those are the main places that you can find me.
What's going on with this Scarlet girl? I don't not to start a whole new convo, but I tuned in for a few minutes and she seemed a little bit out of it.
Well, I think we were both a little bit out of it, actually. One stream was more coherent, though, at least. The Tuesday stream, the Thursday night. She is a porn star who has drifted into the
sector
Killstream orbit. So
what's the name?
Scarlett Hampton.
How do you spell that?
Mark's looking her up right away.
SCARLETT and then Hampton.
Next thing you hear is just audio of the funk music starts and
one of the haters called us.
She's not too bad looking. A little bit. It's very, very it's very thin though. Oh no.
I knew you were about to say that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
She's a no, guys.
I know. No. I was waiting till he said.
What is it? Is it black? Is it interracial? Is that
surely that's not it?
No. Shame. Okay. And on that note, Mark, Collett, I put links to your.
Yeah, well, look, thanks for having me on. It's been great seeing Ethan again. I've really enjoyed tonight, despite it being well past my bedtime. I hope everyone's enjoyed the stream. Please do support both of these guys, and if you want to support me, it means a great deal to me if you subscribe to me. I'm the most banned man in the Western Hemisphere. I'm not allowed a bank account. I'm banned from all mainstream social media. Banned from the whole of North America and 29 European countries. But I've never broken the law. And if you want to support me and help me out, the best way to do it is to sub me over on Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram, and Gab. It means a great deal to me if you go and give me a like or a sub. I would love to get over 10,000 followers over on Rumble. If you can help me to that number, I will be eternally grateful. I hope you've enjoyed the night, and hope to have more interactions with these wonderful men. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. It was like the old days.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
watching. Big thanks to the super chatters. Big thanks to my guests. Wonderful show. And that's it. We will catch you all later. Have a good night. Peace out.